Today, after 30 plus requests, we are going to be bringing you the great Glasner. At its best, this game had the perfect season, resulting in 61 games unbeaten. We did draw a few games, to be granted. I'm going to show you that season, but be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. This tactic absolutely cooks. Up the Palace, let's get into it. I'm going to start off with the most relevant team in the video. That is going to be Crystal Palace over in the Premier League. We enjoyed a very, very good season. As you can see right now, the FA Cup knocked out in the third round by Hull City, and the Carabao Cup, not the best, but the real attraction is going to be this Premier League table, because in one season with 0 signings we picked up Champions League football, and basically we were on joint place with Arsenal in third place. We were a little bit off the top, but we are Crystal Palace. Let's remind ourselves of that. So the fact we've got Champions League football in season 1 is absolutely incredible. It wasn't all done off luck either. You can see here Edouard enjoyed a fantastic season, so did Elise, and also obviously Eze. These two here are potentially some of the most creative sparks in the Premier League. They are absolutely incredible players. Stat wise, we are going to go over it, and we're not going to be featured in too much. Third place out of a lot of teams. We're outscoring City, Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea and United. That is really, really impressive. So we're not going to be the hub of the stats. We're not going to be the home of the stats, but we are contributing to the league with a very good attack and display. Data hub wise, of course, we are going to go and have a little look. That is going to be 1.97 goals a game, which is really good with a Palace side, and very defensively solid as well, at only 0.89 conceded. Over 12.3 shots a game. Pass completion, very, very good at 89.3, and a tackle win ratio of 76.51. So for a team like Palace, who, without any criticism to Palace fans on this game, are quite poor, we have turned them into a top 4 team in season 1. We really did enjoy some great games with this Palace team. As you can see here, a 6-0 win against Wolves away from home, and we absolutely got off to a flying start there. Beautiful play, by the way, inside of 5 minutes. We go again with Elise, a great ball into the box, back stick into Anderson to make it 2-0 in 16 minutes. Another goal before half-time. Anderson into Edouard, through to Elise, on his ones, into Mitchell, who's going to go down the left, into the middle, into Elise again. And the quality of these goals is absolutely sublime. Munoz now into Decore, ball into the box, into Mitchell, Jose Sarr. I don't know what you're coming out for there, son, but we'll take the goal. Anderson into Holding, back into Anderson, down the right-hand side, time on the ball inside, into Edouard to make it 5-0. One more goal to wrap up things. Mitchell down the left, coming inside, into Lerma, into Eze, great touch, into Edouard, past Totti, and it goes in. What a game. Next, in a little bit of fun, I went over to the Austrian Premier Division. I don't feel like I do this too often. We went with Lask. We come in second place, unfortunately, but still quite a good season. Runners-up in the Austrian FA Cup as well. If we go over to that Premier Division, we can actually see we were quite competitive in the goal scorer, and again finishing in second place when it comes to the top goal scorer, and obviously also picking up the most clean sheets, which means defensively we're actually quite good. And in fact, actually in the actual title holder section we did actually win, but overall, how does that even work? Let's go back over to that. So the Premier Division, I'm a bit confused here. Is there any Austrian Premier Division fans? Please let me know. I'm a little bit confused. I think maybe in the league we won directly, but overall at the actual competition, they won. But league-wise, we did win, to be fair, so we'll give ourselves some credit. Team stat-wise, though, we are going to be featuring in the more defensive side of stuff. Fewest conceded, the most clean sheets, fewer shots against. Goals-wise, very competitive, by the way. Only 5 goals off the top. Possession-wise, also very competitive. Only 2% off the top. So Salzburg are always going to win this league because they are the real powerhouse of the league. But we put up more than the valiant effort. And to be fair, I think we actually did win over the course of the season the actual league, but they might have won the entire lot, if that makes any sense. Bit of a confusing format. Let me know in the comments, because I'd like to know where you guys are from. If there's any Austrian fans, please do let me know. Data hub wise, we are going to go and have a little look. That is going to be consistent of 1.72 goals per game, 0.62 conceded, over 12 shots a game, and a 90% pass completion. I will say this is not necessarily going to be the highest scoring tactic you're ever going to download, but it is going to be one of the best when it comes to getting results, because it has good levels of possession, it defends well, it does score enough goals to get the job done. It's great pass completion, literally everything you could ever want. And we didn't struggle against Salzburg directly. As you can see here, a 2-0 win. Granted, one goal was a penalty. The other goal just become before half-time. Down the right-hand side, been very sensible with the ball here at his feet. Back into the middle. Salzburg undone. Up next is going to be a bit of a stint over in Germany with Frankfurt, but we done the potential Bayer Leverkusen job. We're going to be doing the treble. It's honestly incredible. The Bundesliga, the Europa Conference League, and the Pokal. We absolutely love it. We win the Pokal in 2-1 fashion over the likes of Wolfsburg. The Conference League, we are always going to win with a team like this and a tactic like this. We've got to beat Pamplona in a 2-0 final. We'll take that any day of the week. And of course, we actually win the Bundesliga. The real creme de la creme stuff right now. Winning 28 games, drawing 2, and only losing 4. Bayern down all the way in 5th place. Dortmund having a great season, Leipzig having a great season, and Stuttgart, which I will say are a real FM underdog because they always come out and put on a great display. Now, I will say in terms of stats, we're not going to be too far up there in terms of the goals, the average rating. Assist-wise, though, Philip Max enjoying a fantastic season. Team stat-wise, though, we are going to be featuring none, which is very straight. Oh, we're in a couple, actually. In a couple. Fewer shots against at 227. This stat here, I'm never really deep too much because if you win the league, you literally have to get that stat line. It's common sense. So the only one we're really going to take, the important ones, are the fewest shots and the fewest conceded. I was hoping we're going to be on the goals. We're 4 behind when it comes to the goals. Possession-wise, good to see we're up there with Bayern and Bayer Leverkusen. That's a real good sign. It's actually quite good, I suppose, because we're not too far behind when it comes to the goals being scored. We are dominating possession. We're very good when it comes to conceding the goals. Quite clear, actually, at rank 1. Actually, it's very good in terms of the season. Data hub-wise, we are going to look at 2.03 goals per game, only 0.65 conceded, over 12.79 shots a game, and 90% pass completion, and a fantastic tackle win ratio. Again, not the highest amount of goals you're going to score in a tactic video, but you are going to be dominating the ball, great pass completion, getting your results, winning the treble. What more can you want? It was a dramatic conference final, to be fair, as actually we did win 2-0, but look at the minute right now, 84 minutes being played, Mario Götze putting off one of the best headers I've ever seen, and look who scored the actual guaranteed winner, Donny van der Beek. We absolutely love him. Gets the 1-2, goes inside and across the goal. Love him. Now over to the creme de la creme, the big boy result. Now this is going to be a very good team in the game, but what we've done is absolutely magnificent. We won the Trophy de Champion in 5-3 fashion over Toulouse. We go out and win the French Cup in 8-0 fashion over Nice. The Champions League, we win 3-1 against a very strong Real Madrid team. And the French League, we go completely invincible. 30 wins and only 4 draws. Ramos picks up 20 goals. So does Marco Asensio. We've got Mendes, Asensio and Hakimi, first, second and third. Mendes and Hakimi when it comes to the assists. Donnarumma with the most clean sheets. Stat-wise, we're going to be absolutely flawless. Most points per game, most goals at 112. Dominant over Monaco. Most shots, fewest shots against. The fewest conceded at 9. Defensively, a joke. And the most clean sheets at 26. Data hub-wise is going to be really impressive. 3.29 goals a game. Only 0.26 conceded, 18.62 shots per game, and 90% pass completion. We are honestly firing on all cylinders. It's absolutely ridiculous. This tactic also offered this. So yeah, this tactic also done this. It actually did go 61 games. I think I've counted it right. Unbeaten an entire season. And I will say some of the results obviously were quite close, a couple of 0-0s, a 2-2, etc, but overall this tactic went completely flawless. Now this was done a mixture of using in-between variants, and I will say I also did play some of these games to try and maintain this record. So I played a lot of the Champions League games myself by switching in between attacking and defensive variants, which is why it's always important to get all 3, because it's very good to have a click of a finger can change the entire way you play. But it's a perfect season. Feel free to count it yourselves, but I'm pretty right in saying it is 61. It is literally the perfect season. I've done this now for over 2.5 years, I think, and I've never done that. But of course, we've got to prioritise the Champions League final, and as you can see right now, we get off to an absolute flyer of a start, a great set piece there. They then bounce back with Brahim Diaz into Tuchel, to be fair, to tuck it into the left-hand corner. We then go to the left on the edge of the box. Ugarte picks it up outright into Hakimi, touch inside, and a belter of a finish into the top left-hand corner. Nothing he could do there. Hernandez picks up the ball down the left, into Ugarte, into Vitinha, into Hakimi, into the left-hand corner. We absolutely love to see it. But for the real reason you're here, of course, that is going to be the wonderful tactic breakdown. If you are enjoying yourselves, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. There are Xbox and also mobile variants of this. You can come over and get them on the Patreon, as well as access to all 3 of these tactics. You get the tactics early, you get priority in the request, you get the rebuild files. You also, of course, get access to the monthly giveaway, which at the moment is still going. 2 more days, a prize giveaway of over £250. They also are going to get loads of other perks, so do come over and check it out in the description. It is literally the home of everything FM. Let's get in and break down Glasner's 3-4-2-1. So we are going to kick things off with the sweeper keeper, who is simply going to be set to the default. This is going to be quite basic for a goalkeeper. I don't want him rushing out and doing anything too rash. Ball playing defender on the right is going to be set to stay wider, and as you guessed it, that's going to be exactly the same for the left centre back as well. In the middle, it's very important in the back 3 to have one as a cover option, and we've done that with this Palace team as well. We've got a central defender set to cover. A wing back on the right is going to be set to attack, simply on Mark Taiter on the right, and of course the left hand side. A ball when midfield player comes in on Mark Titer as well. Very tight mark on Team Crystal Palace, and that is also why we've got him on that instruction for the DM on support, on Tackle Harder and Mark Titer. With this block of 4 right now, although they are going to be pushing up these wing-backs very, very heavily, that sort of tight marking system is very hard for anyone to get into any space and have any freedom whatsoever. An attacking midfield player on the right is going to be on cross more often, run wide and also roam, and that's going to be replicated literally for the left-hand side as well. And lastly, it is Edouard, so it has got to be a pressing forward on attack, who by default is going to be moving into the channels, closing down more, and of course, getting the challenges in quite aggressively. But please do make sure you've got very good wing-backs in the system, because that's how you're really going to get these results. And make sure you've got some decent centre-backs as well, because obviously when these wing-backs are pushing up, they are going to have to stay wider and cover them. So a bit of speed would be quite good, and definitely good decision-making, because they need to be making all the decisions, because there's a lot of stress when these wing-backs are flying up the field. But let's get into the team instructions. So it is all going to be based off a clean slate on the positive mentality. We are going to go down to fairly narrow. We're going to tick on pass into space, very important. We are going to overlap left and overlap right, because it really gets some wing-backs involved. We're going to play out from the back. We're going to leave this in the middle. The tempo is going to be maxed out too high. There are quite an aggressive team, Palace, believe it or not. You could argue maybe slightly higher would be more of a realistic approach, but for a bit more of an in-game performance sort of side of things, we are going to have higher on, because I did notice the difference quite significantly. In transition, it's going to be nice and simple. It's going to be counter press, counter, play to the centre-backs while taking short goal kicks. And lastly, in the bit of a talking point about this team, I've gone with the high press and line of engagement. You can't really have the standard line. Some would argue the much higher line, but for a default tactic, I'm going to go with the higher line, because it works really, really well, and you're not too overcommitted. Now, this might change in the attacking variant, but for the default variant, which you're going to use to go into your games with, you don't want to throw all your toys? You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. I don't know what I was saying there. You don't want to go too attacking and be too vulnerable. So we are going to have it like this. We are going to be much more often when it comes to the trigger press, and we are also going to have get stuck in. Now to the attacking tactic. So now this attacking tactic is going to look very, very similar, but of course a little bit more attacking minded to push up and get those goals. The sweeper keeper and in fact the ball playing defenders and the central defender does remain exactly the same, so I'm not going to waste your time on those. The wing backs on the right and also the left are going to be a bit more buffed up now on attack, on take more risks, cross more often, dribble more, run wide, and of course mark tighter. A Volante comes in on support, on get further forwards. A deep line playmaker comes in on support as well, on more direct passes, tackle harder and mark tighter. So defensively, in terms of the midfielders, they are very more attacker minded now, and it is a very attacking tactic, and one which you have got to be careful of, because you are going to be vulnerable. So for this circumstance, I would say only use it if you're desperate to try and clench a winner or get back into a game, because it is going to be a lot of stress on them free centre-backs, because now obviously the DMs are quite attacking as well. We then introduce a shadow striker on the right and the left, both on attack, on cross more, run wide and roam from position. The great thing about this is they're a bit more pushed up than the attacking midfield players, and sometimes you actually make almost runs in behind. So sometimes you look at yourself in the game and you're like, I've got 3 strikers up front. So it is going to be very good at getting the goals, but please do be aware, I would not recommend playing this for an entire 90 minutes. And the press and forward remains unchanged. Again, clean slate, but this time obviously it's going to be set to the attacking mentality. We're going to go down to fairly narrow. This is going to be the same as is overlap left and overlap right while playing out from the back. We're going to go with standard with the directness. The tempo, of course, is going to be maxed out. This is where the real change comes in. So we are going to have run at defence, and I've actually gone with hit early crosses, because then wing-backs are going to be very, very vital at obviously contributing to this team. They get in a lot of good crossing positions, and with them shadow strikers, always you're going to have 3 players in the box, so it's good to get the ball in. Not too many changes regarding this, but there are a few, so we are going to go with counter press, counter, distribute quickly, play to the centre-backs, and take short goal kicks. Lastly, I did hint at having a much higher line, but to be honest, it's way too overkill. So we're going to stick with that higher defensive line. We're going to have this at much more often, and we're going to get stuck in. I will say, if you were in like the last couple of minutes maybe, and this for some reason isn't working, you can go up to the much higher line, but please do be aware, you're very vulnerable to counter-attacks. Now to defend those wonderful games out, we are going to make a few changes. So, a super keeper does remain the same. Both of the ball-playing defenders and the central defender also remains unchanged. The wing-backs are going to still be on attack because they need to be. We are trying to, defend this game out, but if they were on defend as well, we're going to have almost a back 7 all on defensive instruction that can't run at all. So they are going to be on attack, but they're going to be marking looking tighter, quite close to the anchor and the DM on the other side, which obviously are going to be new additions to the team. The anchor is going to be on defend, on tackle harder, and mark tighter, and the DM is also going to be on exactly the same instructions. Now, one thing I'll say is good luck to anybody breaking this tactic down, because it's absolutely rock solid. Even with the wingbacks, if they do push up, the anchor man, the DM, almost fills them positions in, and you're defending with a back five regardless of if the wingbacks are up the field or not. And when they're not up the field and they're defending, you've literally got a back four and then a back three. It's so hard to break down. We then introduce an attacking midfield player on the default, and also on the left hand side, and the press and forward also comes down to support to be a little bit closer to them attacking midfield players to link up the ball a little bit easier, and he's simply going to be on the default. Now, all based again off the clean slate, still on the positive mentality. Anything less than that was a little bit too negative in my opinion. We are going to go down to fairly narrow. We're still going to pass into space. This still has to be on because we are trying to really push overlap and runs with them wingbacks. We're still going to play out from the back, but on this occasion, this is where it gets a little bit different. So we're going to go a little bit more direct with the passing. We're going to play for the set pieces, and we are going to actually time waste a fair bit. I don't usually do this in this tactic, but this is designed to seal a game out, and we're going to go down a much more sort of time wasting, you know, set piece, more direct route. In transition, we're going to go with counter press, counter, slow the pace down when the goalkeeper's got the ball, because although I like to counter attack when we've won the ball because there's no harm trying to get a goal, there's no need to force it when the goalkeeper has it. We are going to play to the centre backs, and we're also going to take short goal kicks. And lastly, out of possession, we are going to go with the same exact high press and line. We are also going to go with the higher defensive line much more often, and of course get stuck in. So nothing changes in this because it works really, really well. Just because you've got a high line does not mean you're not going to be defensively solid at all. To be honest, having that standard was a little bit too negative, probably because of the addition of these two anchors and obviously the DM as well. So that is going to give you 3 variants of Glasner's Palace Tactics. The Great Glasner, I love that YouTube title. Be sure to leave a like on it and subscribe. As always, keep the comments coming below what you want to see next, and be sure to go check over the Patreon. There's over 3,400 people now, so we've got a lot of stuff going on there. You won't regret it. I'll see you in the next one.